Okay, let's look at the review for your chapter test, and we'll try to make maybe a couple videos to get most of the problems in. So the first couple of questions go back to the first part of the chapter, and a rock is just the slope. So we're really just thinking about delta y divided by delta x. And IROC, of course, we're thinking calculus. So with IROC, we're going to use some form of the limit as either h approaches 0 of f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, and that'll give us the derivative in terms of x, and we'll be able to use that at any value. And of course, if we wanted to know at a specific point where x approaches some number c, like x equals 2 or something like that, well, we would use f of x minus f of c as our delta y on top there. So really these are just, all three of these variations are just the slope. So anyway, let's take a look at number one. We're going to use, I think we'll use this method right here to take a look at that one. So we're looking at the derivative of this curve at x equals 2. So we'll start off with the limit as x approaches 2, x minus 2 on the bottom, and f of x minus the function value at 2. So now we have to do some calculating here. Plug in 2 right here and plug in 2 right here, and we would get 2 squared of 4. 4 times 7 is 28, and 28 minus 6 looks like equals 22. So the first step is to find f of 2, and that equals 22. So we have 7x squared minus 3x minus 22 over x minus 2. And now we've got a pretty formidable task. We have to try to figure out how to factor that top one out. Well, we could use crisscross on that, or we could just use guess and check. I think guess and check might be quicker on this one. So, well, we know that we want to have x minus 2 on the bottom, right? So that we can factor, or excuse me, we already have x minus 2 on the bottom, so if we don't have x minus 2 on top, then we're kind of stuck in the water. So if we have that x in the top, x minus 2 in the top, we have to have a 7x right here, right? And we know that we need to multiply, when we do our FOIL, our last thing has to be 22, so it looks like we have to use a positive 11. And let's see if this all works out. Just do a quick check. 7x times x is 7x squared. That checks out. The outside term would be a negative 14x. That's this one. And the inside term would be a positive 11x. So that gives me a negative 3, right? So the middle term checks out, and of course 11 times negative 2 does give me negative 22. So we can erase all this over here, and we can cancel these guys out. And now, since we still have our limit as x approaches 2, we can go ahead and directly plug that in to our remainder here, and we have 7 times 2, which is 14, plus 11. 14 and 11 is 25. So our answer is that the instantaneous rate of change or another way of saying this is f prime at 2 equals 25. Okay, number 2, they just want us to find the average velocity. So we're thinking AROC, average rate of change. So the function would look like this. The average velocity in this case is equal to x2 minus x1, and then we would have f of x2 minus f of x1. So now we just have to figure out our values. So, well, it's actually in terms of s, but that's okay. So s at 8, we just need to figure out what that is. We have 7 times 8 squared minus 3 times 8. You calculate that out, and you'll get your first term. And then for the position function at 5, you just simply plug in 5 for x, or for t in this case. So just plugging it into that. Alright, I'll leave you to that. And number 3 is just very similar to number 1. So we're going to use the instantaneous equation. And number 4, let's take a look at that one. And we're going to find the equation of the tangent line, right? And the tangent line is at x equals -5. So we'll sort of split this up into 2 little problems over here. First thing to notice is that we're going to need y minus what? F of -5. That's my y value. And since we're looking for the tangent line, we're going to need to know the derivative at 5. That's our slope. And x minus a -5, which is just x plus 5. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to do to find the derivative. So in this problem, I think we'll use the limit as h approaches 0. Find this in terms of x, and then we'll plug in that -5 for our derivative. So remember, it's x plus h, f of x plus h minus f of x all over h, and it's the limit as h approaches 0. So let's go ahead and start off by writing our function. And I'm just going to substitute every time I have x, I'm going to substitute x plus h and x plus h, and then I'm going to write the original function again, subtract that, and then we'll try to do some cancellation, factor out the h and see what we get. So let's go ahead and FOIL that out. That's the first term. Then we're going to distribute the 7 to get 7x plus 7h minus 17. And then we'll go ahead and distribute our negative here 3 times. And we get a negative x squared minus 7x plus 17. And it's all over h. Okay, let's see what we can cancel. I notice that we have an x squared, and I have a negative 7x here and a positive 7x. That cancels. We have our 17 positive and negative 17, so all we're left with is 2xh, an h squared, and a 7h. And of course all those have h in common to the first power, so we'll go ahead and factor that out. So factoring out the h, we get we're left with 2x plus h plus 7 all over h. And now, as a limit, as h approaches 0, we're able to cancel out the term h in the bottom, which is very, very helpful. And now when we plug in 0 for h, we get 2x plus 0 plus 7. So this is our derivative at any point along our curve x squared plus 7x minus 17. And now we're simply going to plug in what we're interested in, which is negative 5. So we have 2 times that negative 5 plus 7, which of course would equal negative 10 plus 7. We have a negative 3 for our slope value. Okay, so that takes care of this slope in our equation, and of course that's x plus 5. And did we find out what the value was at negative 5? And we did not. So let's go ahead and do that up here. So function value at negative 5 would just equal what? We have negative 5 squared, 25. 7 times negative 5 here is negative 35 minus 17. Adding the first two terms, we get negative 10, take away 17, negative 27. So this becomes negative 27 right here. Subtract the negative 27 and it's adding 27. So you can just leave it like this, and point slope formula, our coordinates are plugged in, and that should be good. Alright, I will stop this video and we will look at the second half of the review.